Hello, this is Melissa Cole, and you're listening to an Oshawa Museum podcast. This podcast series aims to actively promote awareness and appreciation of our community's history, highlighting remarkable artifacts, documents, photographs, or events from our past. Today's podcast was inspired by a recent donation and question that was posted on our social media channels about Souvenir China. We hope you enjoy the podcast. Souvenir China is a terminology that seems to have derived as a result of what to call china and pottery pieces that depict people, places, buildings, and events of modern-day existence. Found amongst the collections held at the Oshawa Museum are a few examples of souvenir chinaware that were produced mainly in Germany in the early 20th century and imported and sold in local stores. From the mid-1800s to around the 1930s, an enormous amount of small souvenir chinaware was produced for sale in Canada and the United States. As the railways and roads expanded, this allowed for sightseeing trips that were unheard of only a generation earlier. Tourists wanted a memento of their excursion to bring back and show off where they had been. Thousands of small china souvenirs were produced in various shapes and sizes. Adorning each piece was a color portrait of the tourist destination, including a title of the scene and location. Unlike today, these early days were not always captured by means of photography. Therefore, these scenes depicted such sites by means of transferware upon pottery. The scenes or pictures were selected in the area where they were to be sold, usually from postcards. The transfer print would be made of the picture and applied to the china. Initially, the pictures were black and white, but were later hand-colored at factories. Eventually, transfer prints were done in color, which eliminated the step of coloring by hand. Not all souvenir china has the importer's mark on the bottom, as many have no mark at all. Some were marked with the store's name, where the item was to be sold, along with the word Germany. The McKinley Tariff Act of 1890 required that all imported items be marked with the country of origin. While this was an American act, it likely would have affected many items being distributed throughout North America. This particular piece was recently donated to the Oshawa Museum, and on the bottom it reads, BRC-VIOLE, Germany. This maker mark tells us that this teacup was created by Bauer, Rosenthal and Company. The factory was located in Kronach, Germany, and they produced ceramic pieces from approximately 1897 to 1903. The museum collection does include pieces with no maker's mark at all, indicating that these pieces may have been made prior to 1890, when the McKinley Act was established. It does seem logical that unmarked souvenir china dates prior to the establishment of the McKinley Act. This has been an Oshawa Museum podcast. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out our other historical video podcast and subscribe to our channel.